Welcome back to the program. It's the Vicki McKenna Show. And I have attorney from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, Dan Lennington, who's also, you're a law professor as well. I should have probably known that, but also a law professor, standing by on the program to talk about a whole bunch of different things as it relates to the law and education. Thanks for joining me, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
So if I never promoted you, when you became a law professor, I apologize for that. Thank God you're a law professor, because what would we do without people like you? We don't have enough. Can we please start, though, with this story in Sun Prairie? The story in Sun Prairie of the dean of Sun Prairie Schools, who was just sentenced for child porn and sexually exploiting students, just sentenced to 18 years. His own attorney said he was a DEI hire. His own attorney said he had no business being in front of kids. His own attorney said that he was not qualified to be in that job, that the only reason he got that job, I couldn't believe this, was because he was DEI. This is how, when we talk about DEI, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. When you don't screen for anything except melanin, you put kids at risk.
Yeah, I have some personal experience with Sun Prairie Area School District. My kids went there. I was pretty involved in the district, and I do remember back in before 2020, the high school, it used to be one high school and now it's two, started this process of hiring black men to hold the title of dean. And the reason that they would give to the public, and these were made in public statements, was that the African-American students at Sun Prairie, they need role models. And so we are going to hire black men to be role models, and they're basically going to be in the halls, be out with the kids, be friendly with the kids, sort of be their buddies. And because they're, good, upstanding citizens, this will rub off on the kids, and this will be a good role model situation. By the way, put aside that is absolutely illegal and unconstitutional to hire someone based on race for the purpose of serving as a role model. There was a case about 40 years ago at the Supreme Court that declared that unconstitutional. But putting that aside, it didn't work. And what happened is that in this case of Robert Gilkey Meisegeier, he admitted in open court this week to using his position as dean to groom a female student. He arranged these secret meetings with her at school, solicited, received naked and sexually suggested photos from her. He created child pornography. There is other pending state counts of sexual exploitation of at least perhaps 3 to 6 student female victims. He did get 18 years in prison, and the most interesting thing about this case is that the attorney for Mr. Gilkey Meisegeier went outside of court and was videotaped speaking to the news. And he said that the reason why he was never caught, first of all, the reason why he was promoted was DEI. He was promoted to the position of dean. Basically, he's promoted to dean because he was black. And the reason why that his behavior was never reported was also because of DEI. This is what the attorney said. The school district, didn't really look. Why? Because they had a person of color who had a degree. It was the post-George Floyd era. It was in the DEI era. And the last thing they were going to do was to remove a young black man who they viewed as a professional staffer who was apparently popular with and supported by the young people of color in the high school, in the district, where young people of color were becoming more numerous. This is true because this is exactly what people at the school board and the school said about these deans, and this dean in particular, was that, look, he's going to be a good role model. He's going to be friends with the black students. Their behavior is going to get better. We're going to have less discipline issues because of this role model theory. And it didn't work. Obviously, he became apparently too friendly with the students to the point where he was committing crimes with and against the students. And this is just one part of the story, because there are other charges pending against other employees of the school district who knew about this and failed to report, because there's a statute that says if you know about abuse of children and you fail to report it, that is also a felony. And so there are charges pending against Jennifer Plager, West High School principal, charged with two to three misdemeanor counts of failing to report child abuse, mandatory reporting. There's a guy named Chris Slater. The police referred him for charges to report child abuse and misconduct. So this is just related to this one dean's issue, and there are more criminal charges involving sexual conduct in students and teachers. And there are other teachers from Sun Prairie that are sitting in federal prison right now besides this guy.
So this is the culture that was created by policies that said DEI is the only thing we're gonna prioritize. That's the culture that's created. That DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That, by the way, is not just about race. We can also talk about all of these alt fetish-like sexualities that is essentially broken down barriers between the adult employees and the students in schools that likely make sexual exploitation a whole lot more likely now. But it's all based on this umbrella that's supposed to be illegal that President Trump has gotten rid of with a couple of executive orders that the Supreme Court has weighed in on a number of times. That, as you point out, is already something the subject of a Supreme Court decision 40 years ago. And yet this philosophy governs not just Sun Prairie schools, Madison schools, Wauwatosa schools, Oconomowoc schools, Lake Mills schools. It's everywhere, even though it's illegal.
Yeah, they when they look at your student, they don't look at that student as an individual. They look at him as a member of a racial group, and their goal is to equalize the racial groups. They call it racial balancing or racial equity, making all the groups equal, and by any means necessary, apparently, to make their groups equal. At Sun Prairie, they also have tutoring that's only for blacks. They have tutoring for blacks. They have a special club for black girls that goes on field trips and does special things. They have an awards that they give to black students called the Beam Awards. That was the subject of a complaint that we filed. The list just goes on and on. They've had race-based teaching or training of the teachers. They had segregated meetings with parents where they would put white parents in one room and non-white parents in another room to talk about issues. Mandatory segregation. The list just goes on and on because they don't hide this for years and years. I don't know if they took it down, but the mission statement of the school district was racial equity. That's the number one thing we do. They say equity is infused in every single decision that we make. Teachers were told that at the end of the day, they needed to what's called disaggregate the data, basically look at their grade book and to have self-reflections and see where they treating blacks and whites and Hispanics and Asians differently, and why were they doing that? And they needed to correct their behavior the next day by giving special treatment to different racial groups, because every kid was just seen as a member of a racial group. And basically the reading and math scores in that district, before you inflate it with the DPI book cooking that they did recently, is about 39% of the kids in that district are reading and doing math at grade level, despite $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 a year spent per student per year. It's just an abysmal district, and sad for the kids that are there. And there are very good kids there, and very smart kids there. And the fact that there's some very good teachers there, and the fact that they're just dealing with this every day. They don't have to be dealing with it.
Everything about school now. Sun Prairie is a great example. They've got a woke superintendent. He wants boys showering with girls. Madison's the same. All these, when we're talking about Sun Prairie as an example, I mean, Wisconsin didn't have Jim Crow laws. And now apparently it does. Only it's not a law. It's policy that is enforced by a bunch of left-wing teachers union bought and paid for minions and stooges. I mean, think about what you just described. You were describing Jim Crow. Separate, equal. We were supposed, we were not a Confederate state. Why in 2026, or when this started in earnest in 2015? Why did Wisconsin decide it wanted to wrap its arms around one of the most racist laws ever conceived of?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of Sun Prairie teachers and students may be listening right now, Vicki. You know why? Because they canceled school today. They canceled school today
Right.
because enough teachers had said that they weren't coming in because of, quote, labor solidarity and, quote, immigration rights, that the district sent out an email yesterday saying, we're monitoring absence rates of employees. And because of this, after exploring all viable possible options, which means hiring subs, and actually I know this personally, they have a lot of subs on their list, but they have so many teachers that are not coming in today that we've come to the conclusion that we are not able to hold school on Friday, May 1st. We just can't do it. We don't, even with the 50 or 100 subs they have on their list, they still don't have enough subs to cover, and they're just going to shut down school. And because apparently reading, writing, and arithmetic is not the mission of that district.
You already said it's equity. Equity is their mission is equity. It's not reading. It's not writing. It's not making sure kids are safe. Certainly not making sure kids are safe. Or you wouldn't have hired a predator, known he was a predator, and not done anything about it until the police made arrests. Okay. So it's clearly that Sun Prairie is not about education. You already said it. It's on their website. It's about equity. And so those teachers walking off with those kids abandoned, I guess it's just par for the course. They already abandoned the kids to the predations of DEI. They've already abandoned kids to the predation of, whatever the sexual fetish of the day is. What the heck? Is it a big deal that they would just walk off and then just say, oh, sorry, we're not even going to bring the subs in, even to have your kids sit in a study hall and read?
Yeah, we have a real crisis in education, and the way we've tried to deal with this in Wisconsin is offering school choice, and we have for decades now have offered alternatives through vouchers or now expanding charter schools to allow parents to choose to leave the traditional public schools. But there are many places, especially up north, where they don't have choice schools. They don't have charter schools. We're blessed in southeastern Wisconsin having a lot of, Catholic schools and schools run by churches and private schools, but that's not the case everywhere. And so it's important for the policymakers and people running for governor to, of course, talk about expanding school choice. But expanding school choice is just what you need when our public schools have completely failed. So another option is to just fix our public schools.
Thank you.
And it seems like the more money we give them, the less results we get.
It can't just be school choice and then we walk away as if that's the only tool in the toolbox. Dan Lennington, thank you very much for joining me on the program today. As always, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.